Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the Healthy Lifestyle Expo. I want to thank Mary McDougall for providing the recipes for tonight's dinner. These are the same recipes, and this is one of them, the Mexican fiesta that were used in the Meals for Health program in the food bank in Sacramento. This is the kind of food that they were eating. You're going to learn more about the Meals for Health program this weekend from a few of the speakers. But we've got a great lineup of top speakers this weekend. We've got a great audience, and we're here for the purpose. The purpose is to live it, learn it, and have fun with it. Right on, yeah. So, how many of you have been to an expo before? Okay, that's a pretty good number. And so, how many of you have not been to the expo before? All right. Any old-timers here? Who's been to at least 4 expos? Okay, we've got some people here and there. Anybody been to all of the expos we've had since 2001? Oh, look at that. My kids. Okay. And my family. Well, so I want to take a moment to tell you how we got here tonight. And we got here, what started it all was 1990. And this gentleman right here, John Robbins. John wrote a book, and I was listening to the radio one day, and this guy, John Robbins, was on KFI talking about this book, and it sounded really interesting, so I stopped at the Bodhi Tree, this kind of hippy-dippy bookstore on Melrose, and I picked up a copy of Diet for a New America, and I read it, and the health arguments really made a lot of sense to me. I was already sort of a chickenitarian. I'd given up red meat, and I said, you know what, I'm going to go vegetarian. Sabrina, we weren't married yet. She borrowed the book. And in the first section of the book, that's what got her. The first section of the book is about the way animals are treated in factory farms and in the food business. And Sabrina had raised chickens as a kid. She'd had them as pets, and they had names, and they would wait for her to come home to lay their eggs. And she'd always thought in her mind that the chickens that she ate were not like the chickens that were part of her family and that were her pets. But when she read Diet for a New America, she realized, no, they're just exactly the same, except the chickens you eat have just had a terrifying, awful life. So she didn't want any more part of that, so she decided to go vegetarian. That was 1990. So we went along just fine until around 1995, and Sabrina was diagnosed with a rare autoimmune disease called relapsing polychondritis. Relapsing polychondritis, your immune system attacks the cartilage in your body. It started in her ears, and she would have these recurring flare-ups. Her ears would blister and get red and very painful. And so she bounced around to different doctors and ended up in the Beverly Hills office of a rheumatologist, Dr. Rodney Bluestone. And Dr. Bluestone was the head of the Southern California Arthritis Foundation and a very smart guy. And he said, well, you know, we don't know what causes it, we can't cure it, but we can help you to live with it. And it has to do with steroids, prednisone, and different drugs. And whenever you have a flare-up, you know, you're going to take these drugs and so on. So Sabrina did that for about a year. And she had been given a book. You know, when you're vegetarian, maybe friends of yours give you books. Oh, here's a cookbook, here's this book. She'd been given a book by her sister, by a guy named John McDougall, because she thought, oh, here's some vegetarian recipes. She hadn't read it, but somehow we coming back from vacation, she decided to read it because she was having a flare-up, so she was pretty much just flat in bed. And this was the book. It was called The McDougall Program, and I remember Sabrina coming downstairs one day and saying, you know, I just read this book, and it says that dairy proteins, you know, can really make a lot of problems in autoimmune diseases, and that removing dairy can help people with lupus. And well, this is in the lupus family, so I think I'm going to go vegan. So I said, okay, well, I guess if you're going vegan, then... She said, we're vegan now. Oh, okay. So we started Dr. McDougall's 12-day program, and about 2 weeks later, Sabrina was in to see Dr. Bluestone again, and for the first time in a year, her SED rate was normal, which is a measure that they had been at 50, was down below 5, and the anti-nuclear antibodies, which they measure to see how active the disease has been, were not present in her blood. So that was good. After going back 3 months in a row and getting those same results, Dr. Bluestone said, "You're in remission. And by the way, your cholesterol is 135. Nice job." So Sabrina really felt that changing her diet had a profound impact on her health. And this disease, relapsing polychondritis, in one study that we've read, has a 40% mortality rate in 10 years. That was 15 years ago when that happened. And so Sabrina actually, we felt like she dodged a bullet. We made a website. We bought the name of the disease, relapsingpolychondritis.com, and Sabrina put her story up there. And if you look, there's all kinds of emails at the beginning, because Sabrina gets a dozen or so emails a month from people that have just gotten this diagnosis. They're out on the internet searching all over, and the email always goes like this: "I just found out I have this, my ears have been doing this, my cartilage in my nose, and so on. I'm on this drug and that drug." Yours was the only website that gave me any hope. Yours is the only website. And then the follow-up letters say, "I've been on Dr. McDougall's diet or Dr. Fuhrman's diet." We have information about a lot of different people doing this now for this many months, and I haven't had a flare-up, or my medication's gone down, or my asthma went away. And just all these remarkable sort of testimonials, which are letters that people have written to Sabrina. So this was 1996. This was the early days for us of the internet. We went on and were discovering things like everybody probably around that time of the internet. And so we were searching on vegetarian websites, and different sites came up. They're all, very interesting. But I don't know, somehow it struck us that some of these websites had a really very judgmental tone, that, the vegans were up here and the vegetarians were there and the meat eaters, get out of here. And so that wasn't us. We were more like humor and fun. So we decided, hey, let's just start a website for fun. Let's start a vegetarian website and see who shows up. And so that's how we started VegSource. I'm going to tell you about him in a second. This is what the front of VegSource looked like in 1996 when we opened. And the reason I have Dr. Trentham's picture in here is I just wanted to give an aside. Dr. Trentham is the foremost authority in relapsing polychondritis. He's in Boston. And when Sabrina went into remission, because everything about relapsing polychondritis is published by this guy, she sent a letter to Dr. Trentham and said, "I'd like to send you my medical records. I'd like to offer myself to be studied in any way, because I do believe that when I changed my diet, it changed my health and put this disease into remission. And so, maybe it's a coincidence, but I don't think so. And so I'd like to offer that." And 2 weeks later, the phone rings, and Dr. Trentham, this very charming Southern-sounding guy, calls and says to Sabrina, "I got your letter." She said, "Dr. Bluestone, he and I published a paper together. He's a wonderful doctor. You had the best of care." And Sabrina said, "Oh, yes, I love I love my rheumatologist." And so Sabrina said, "I really think that my diet had to do with this disease going into remission." And Dr. Trentham says, "Oh, how can you stand a vegan diet?" And Sabrina said, "Well, it's a lot better than all those drugs I was taking, And Dr. Trentham said, "Well, the disease waxes and wanes. We can't really know whether the diet had any impact or not. I don't want to jinx you. I'm going to wish you good luck." Click. So that was the extent of his interest in that. We subsequently, one of the people that contacted Sabrina was being treated by Dr. Trentham and was very excited by Sabrina's webpage. In fact, had reserved to go out and see Dr. McDougall and take the 12-day program there. Then she called Sabrina and said, "Oh, I spoke to Dr. Trentham. He says I have a different type of RP, relapsing polychondritis, than you do, Sabrina, and that it wouldn't benefit me to go to Dr. McDougall's." So yeah. So he never, looked at Sabrina's. Okay, so this is VegSource in 1996. In order to kind of increase our knowledge, we were finding out that there were many doctors and people out there in the world and people that were promoting vegetarian, plant-based diets. And we realized that a lot of them did not have websites, or they had their, version 1 website. They were new to the web like we were. So we began contacting people who we admired and organizations that we thought were wonderful. And we said, hey, we would love to build a website for you for free and host it on our site, and you own it. And if you take it, it's yours, it's your content, but we'd love to just offer that. And so many people and places that we contacted said, sure. So within a couple of years, we had, I just was trying to make a list last night to remember the different sites we did. And here it is: Howard Lyman, Farm Sanctuary, PCRM, Farm Animal Farm, EarthSave, Dr. McDougall, IVU, John Robbins, Ruth Heydrich, Charlie Atwood, Michael Clapper, Caldwell Esselstyn, T. Colin Campbell, Neil Pickney, Joanne Stepanek, Gail Davis, Marie Ozer, Visanto Molina, Rin Berry, Doug Graham, Ron Pekarsky, Robert Cohen, Roger Fouts, Stanley Coren, Ali Katz, Animal News. You can see the list up there: Vegan Outreach, the Vegetarian Society of Hawaii, and so on. So in doing that, we sort of tried to, we would link to all these sites on our website and become sort of a clearinghouse and try to promote what this place was doing, what that person was doing, in order to, build our site. It just was a passion for us. And, since we have been on the internet in 1996, there's been a tremendous amount of change. It used to be back, you'd say you were vegan. People wondered, are you from Las Vegas? Or, another planet, maybe? And, nowadays, you can go into McDonald's, and the chances are they'll know what a vegan is, and they might even have something for you to eat. Not that you'd want to eat it, but, they have something. So, just in the past few years, there's so many things that have happened to propel this diet into everyone's consciousness. Watershed books like the China Study and Prevent and Release Heart Disease came out in recent years. Forks Over Knives came out in the past year, highlighting the lives of these two geniuses. And Brian Wendell, where are you? He's here. Stand up, Brian, take a bow. He made the movie. Brian Wendell. And of course, Sanjay Gupta, we know he drank the Kool-Aid. It was Dr. Esselstyn, again, who got him to get behind this and made a 1-hour special. And outfits like Whole Foods Markets are another. They've picked up basically what are essentially the group of speakers from the last 10 years here that we've been having at the Expo. And they have started putting on their own educational programs for their employees. And Whole Foods, you have to understand, they spend $200 million a year on their health care. And they realized that, I think 70% of that was spent on 5% of their 60,000 employees. That 5% of those employees had a lot of problems and a lot of diseases that were costing them $150 million. So they decided, you know what? Let's let that 5% of our employees, someone who's sick and applies and who wants to do that, let's pay for them to go to an event where they can get this information and learn to control their health. And I know that it's saving Whole Foods a whole lot of money in a time when every other company's healthcare costs are skyrocketing. Whole Foods are going down the last couple of years, so they're an extremely forward-thinking company. And two of our speakers this weekend, Jeff Novick and Rip Esselstyn, met for the first time 2 years ago in this very room. And now they're doing immersions together all the time. And here is a shot from when they met. That was 2009. Love at first sight. So that's a big leap forward. Now Dr. Fuhrman, Dr. McDougall, Rip Esselstyn, and his dad, they're putting on these regular immersions for Whole Foods. I went to Austin, Texas 2 weeks ago. I was there with Jeff and with Rip. And I was shooting a 6-day immersion where they took 140 Whole Food employees who all had high blood pressure, diabetes, a lot of very sick people who decided they wanted to do this. And I can tell you, at the end of 6 days of eating nothing but plant foods and getting this information in their mind, this is some of what we saw.
I just wanted to say that when I went to go get my blood drawn and stuff this morning, I lost like 6 pounds since I've been here. That's like a pound a day. And my blood pressure went down and everything. And actually, ate everything I want. My boy Roberto, they was like, man, you always eating. And I stayed full, and I still lost weight. So, I mean, I'm a believer, you know.
Hi, I just want to let everybody know, before I came here, my vegetables were from pizza, out of a bag. Since I've been here, I've dropped my cholesterol 40 points. And I couldn't have done it without you.
In these short 6 days that we've been here, managed to decrease my blood pressure, number one. Number two, I dropped 5 pounds. Number three, no insulin for 2 days. So each day I've decreased.
Got here 6 days ago, as you all know. Since that time, I'm using half the insulin that I used to use. I dropped more weight in these 6 days than I have in the last 2 years. So I just want to say thank you for the opportunity to get healthy. Thank you.
Isn't it amazing that a company would do that for their employees? Most companies will pay for bypass surgery. They'll, if the employee needs it, or maybe they'll fire them, I don't know. They'll pay for what they need, some portion of their drugs. Whole Foods is taking people and saying, do you want to learn how to get well on your own? Because that's really the only way to solve the healthcare crisis. Here's another clip that I want to show you. This was Wednesday night of this week, 2 nights ago.
Good to see you.
Louder.
Thank you. And I don't want to sound silly about this, but you look wonderful. You look better than I've ever seen you in my life.
You know, when you get to be our age, about all you got left is bright clothes and BS, and you got a corner on the BS market, so I had to do this.
Yeah, I do. But you and I have a similar health history. We both had some fairly invasive surgery, and I've been struggling with my weight. You have conquered your weight. What are you doing? How do you do it? Why can't I do it?
Well, I haven't really. I mean, I'm about 5 pounds overweight now because I've been working so hard and I haven't been out doing as much exercise as I need. But I gave up meat and dairy and virtually completely gave up fish. I just went on as close to a vegan diet as I could get and still traipse around the world a little bit.
Wow. Well, see, I don't want to do that.
But look, here's the problem that sort of 2 minutes. Everybody produces an enzyme that destroys all the bad cholesterol we produce. Almost everybody produces some extra. Problem is, you can't get a test that'll give you how much extra you have. So when you and I had to have our heart operations because of blockage, we know we didn't have enough to consume whatever it was we were consuming and live however we were living before then. And then when I dropped that vein and had to have the stents put in, I just decided I'd like to hang around, see if I become a grandfather, or do a few other things. And so I changed my diet to try to drastically cut down on my cholesterol intake so this would never happen again.
Well, congratulations. It's certainly working. See, my problem, things have gone so well for me health-wise that I think I can fudge. You know what I mean? I feel like I've got an advantage, so how about a pound of fudge? You know, literally. But that's not why you're here. Anyway.
You can fudge, just not too much.
Yeah.
But even, Dr. Esselstyn, who has the most militant position, I mean, he doesn't even eat things made with olive oil. And he looks great. He's about 10 years older than we are. But he has a piece of chocolate every New Year's Eve. So he fudges.
Every New Year's Eve. He goes crazy New Year's Eve, has a bite of a Snickers.
Sometimes you got to let it all hang out.
Yeah.
That's what he does.
Of course, Dr. Esselstyn's chocolate bar is big enough to last him a whole year. I think my wife would say a year without chocolate wasn't worth living. But so Dr. Esselstyn was going to be here this weekend, but he has the 40th reunion of his medical school class at Case Western Reserve. I recently asked Dr. Esselstyn about his 25-year study that's gained a lot of attention and a lot of fame and a lot of followers. And I asked him, how did he get these people back in 1985, all of whom had been sent home to die, all of whom were very sick, had had all kinds of operations, and how did he convince them, hey, go vegan, hey, eat a plant-based diet? Here's what he said.
So to see if I could get these patients from bailing out on us, I saw them every 2 weeks in the office for the first 5 years. And then I lengthened it out to every 4 weeks for the next 5 years, so that by a decade now they really were pretty well on autopilot. And I was able to lengthen it out to quarterly. But the exciting thing was that what we saw with these patients was that all those compliant patients totally arrested any further progression of their disease, and we often saw, with some of the follow-up angiograms, striking evidence of disease reversal.
So let's think about that. How did he treat these people? He gave them a weekend of education that was about 5 hours long. And then he saw them, to begin with, twice a month, just in his office. No procedures, no operating room costs or anything like that. Let's look at what does a heart bypass cost. Well, I did a little search on the internet, and these numbers, forget it. We've got cardiologists here, I know tonight, who could tell me, but I saw bypasses that cost $400,000. I saw ones that were $6,000. You can get them in India pretty cheap, too. Stents is about $50,000. So what is the cost of a doctor getting together to discuss your grocery list twice a month to start, or quarterly after that? There's no comparison. And plus, the people that Dr. Esselstyn has treated, they're alive. None of them has died of heart disease. They're all supposed to, but 25 years later, none of them has had a heart attack. None of them has died of heart disease. So that's really the doctors that you're going to hear from this weekend. They practice a different type of medicine. They practice what I call health care. So, pardon the slam at doctors, but that's not really the intention. 2 years ago here at this expo, my brother-in-law, Marshall, was telling me about a program at the food bank where he works. When you guys checked in and got your badges today, that was my brother-in-law, Marshall, who was handing out the badges. And my sister, Mary Louise, is behind the registration, helping there as well. And they've been coming for years to help us out here, which we're so grateful for. Let's give them a big round of applause. Thank you. They're out there. They don't know. But the food bank where they work, the Sacramento Food Bank and Family Services, is very forward-thinking. For years, as they would like to say, they were in the begging business. They would simply go out and get whatever food they could get donated to them and pass that along to their food bank clients, families in need with a lot of problems and low income. And they realized, wait a sec, we're making these people, yeah, we're helping them, but we're also making them worse because this food is very salty, it's sugary, it's, junk. And so they made a decision that, we're going to start controlling the food that we give away. And they went out and they raised money so they could start buying produce. And they set up sort of these farmers market with a lot of dignity where people could go and have demonstrations of plant-based foods. So we heard about this and we were thinking, wow, that's really interesting. What a novel idea. We put on this expo, people who can afford to be here come in, they get this information, we keep in contact, and we see so many people that's inspiring to us that, reverse their health challenges and get better. This is information that should be in a food bank, that should be not just limited to people who can fly to California and hear these speakers. So we came up with this idea called Meals for Health. And what we did is we went into the Sacramento Food Bank with a program to bring this information, and we assembled a dream team. The program was designed by Jeff Novick and Dr. McDougall. We brought in Dr. Clapper, Dr. Forrester, Dr. Popper, John Robbins, and several other doctors and dietitians. The question was, would it work? would these people, with this information, would it stick? Would they take the information? Would they join and quit 2 days later? Would they stay with it 6 months later? So we didn't really know. And, but actually it turned out pretty well. Why don't we hear from a few of them right now?
I started having high blood pressure when I was in my 40s. And since then, it was always high, but as I've gotten older, it was getting higher. And so my doctors were monitoring me. And I had been on that blood pressure medicine for over 22 years. This program done something for me that the medical industry couldn't do for me. This program done something for me in 4 days. 4 days, I was off of my blood pressure medicine. You know, I went to the doctor because they were monitoring me, and I don't just have high blood pressure. I have bad cholesterol and other things too, but I'm not going to mention those things. But the things that worried me the most was the high blood pressure. It was getting so out of control until they upped my medication. And so as I was in there, he was saying, well, what about these other things? You know, and I'm going like, okay, we're going to wait on that because I know I'm going to start this vegan program and I'm going to see what it do first, you know. So when I started it, and 4 days, we started April the 8th. April the 12th was my doctor's appointment. And I went in there and she took my blood pressure because it had been running like 160 over 104 and it was going up and they had upped my medication. And then when I started this vegan program, it went down, it was 123 over 78. And she says, oh, I think that the medicine that the doctor gave you is working. I go like, no, it's the food. And it really was the food, you know. I mean, I've been searching for a long time. I spent a lot of money at the health stores. I really did, trying to find out what was good for me. I hadn't had pork in like 38 years, but I was still eating chicken and turkey and fish. And I wasn't doing too well. I was spending all this money on noni juice. I was spending the money on spirulina, my calcium pills, all this money I was spending. And all I needed to know was that I needed to eat this plant-based, strong, density low diet. It was just so simple. And I'm going like, wow, I didn't have that one puzzle that was missing. And this is it, you know. I don't see myself going back to ever eating the way that I was eating because of the fact that I'm medicine free right now. And I'm loving it. I'm loving it. I get up in the mornings and I could just leave my house. I don't have to worry about, oh, did I take that blood pressure medicine? No. I'm feeling good right now. I'm feeling really good.
I want to tell you guys, I'm not a Meals for Health survivor. I'm a Meals for Health lifer. I got off 8 medications in the first month of my program. I was a pre-diabetic. I was on high blood pressure pills, anxiety pills, asthma pills. You could name it, I was taking it, and I don't take any of those medications anymore at all. In 2 months' time, I've lost 31 pounds. And I just want to say, this is my program for life, and I want to thank everybody for changing my life for me. That's all I got to say. Thank you.
I had high blood pressure, and after about a week, I have no blood pressure. Dr. Forrester said, stop telling people you have high blood pressure. You don't have blood pressure problems at all. I lost 22 pounds. And I just feel great. You know, we have people in this art group that we're in, and we all had an option. We could volunteer for this survey what is it? Group program. And so most people didn't want to do it. Oh, no, I'm not going to give up my meat. Oh, no, I'm not going to stop going to Mickey D's. Oh, no. But then after about a week, when they start seeing us looking good, feeling good, getting off the meds, and just thriving, shining, and so now they all want this program. They're saying, when are they going to do it again? I want to join. And we say, oh, no.
I started in the program just to support a friend, and I seriously thought that I was going to last for about 4 days, and then I was already making up, ways to get out of it. But obviously I didn't. It just turned, we had that orientation weekend, and it stuffed us full of such great food. But facts. They stuffed us full of facts, too, and gave us a lot to think about. And all I know is that since I started on this, I feel so much better. I feel cleaner. I have more energy. I have a better attitude, at least most of the time.
I was healthy on paper, and I thought, I was living my life, but I wasn't. I thought I knew how to eat healthy. I've had the same doctor my entire adult life. I've been a member of Kaiser since 1976. I knew what it was to eat healthy. Oh, eat this, don't eat that, eat this, don't eat that, cut your calories, da-da-da-da-da. It didn't work. I had IBS every day, multiple times a day for, God, don't want to cry again, for my daughter's entire life. 3 days after changing what I eat, I've not had IBS. And that's been almost 3 months now. I don't have migraines anymore. I have fibromyalgia, but I'm almost not going to claim that anymore because I feel so much healthier. I have so much more energy. I just am so excited. I've lost over 40 pounds in 2.5 months. I thought that I knew what it was to be healthy. I thought I was stuck in the life that I had, having fibromyalgia and just existing. I am so grateful to everyone here that started this program because I have a life now. I can live and enjoy my life and spend time with my kids and not just sleep all day long. And I never would have been able to experience any of that if it wasn't for EarthSave and Mills for Health.
Okay. So that's where we've gone in the 10 years now since we started the Healthy Lifestyle Expo, and I put this slide up to contemplate what we can conquer in the next 10 years. So this is a weekend of superstar speakers. I'm going to tell you about tonight's speaker in just a moment, but I wanted to mention that tomorrow morning we begin with blood tests and cholesterol. For those of you who are going to be doing that, at 7:30 that opens. And the program lineup starts with Dr. Joel Fuhrman. You know Dr. Fuhrman? Yes. Dr. Fuhrman is an intense, interesting, fascinating guy who is always right. Just ask Dr. McDougall, right? Next, we're going to be hearing from Dr. Michael Clapper. You may not know an interesting fact, Dr. Clapper invented the vegan diet. No, really. That's him. So after we have a delicious lunch tomorrow then from recipes provided by Dr. Fuhrman, we're going to be hearing from Jeffrey Mason. Jeff, yes, wonderful writer, wonderful human being. He's a best-selling author of many books like When Elephants Weep, and he's a fascinating guy. Some great Oprah stories too. He's been on that a few times. Next is going to be Dr. Don Forrester, right here in front. Don has cured a lot of type 2 diabetics at Kaiser. He is also the medical director and key man for the Meals for Health program in Sacramento. He's a very erudite guy, fascinating, funny, and you're going to really need to put your thinking cap on to talk with him over the weekend. He's just such a brilliant guy. So batting cleanup Saturday is the legendary, in his own mind, Jeff Novick. Yes. And the title of his talk is Why Jeff Novick is Better Than Rip Esselstyn. He just gave me that change. At the end of his talk, we're going to unveil a really, I think, helpful, amazing resource that I think you're all going to be happy about, but that's as much as I can say right now. So Saturday night, some of you are going to be attending the PCRM benefit party at the beautiful Malibu estate of Cindy Landon. That's for those of you who aren't. We have a documentary you're going to love called To Your Health. It's a film made by the plant-based dietitian Juliana Hever. Juliana, where are you? Stand up. She's here. Juliana. She's talking on her phone. Oh, she's out there. Okay. So that's going to be a lot of fun. let's see, I'm losing my place, so I'll show you this. This is a picture of my dog and my cat. I only put it in here because they're so cute. Sunday morning, we're going to start out bright and early with the cooking demos. So then, after the cooking demos, we're going to strip down to the basics and hear from the big kahuna himself, Dr. John McDougall. Maybe a little more stripped down than you were thinking. Dr. McDougall is going to answer Q&A by video, so we're going to start thinking about your questions you might have for Dr. McDougall. He's going to be here live via video. Next, following him also on video, is going to be Rip Esselstyn. Yeah, yay Rip. You may know that Rip was a triathlete, and he was a fireman at the Engine 2, and I actually found video of him doing his final drive of the Engine 2 fire engine, and this is really hard to find. This was his final drive just before he was retired. Did I mention he was forcibly retired? Okay, Dr. Fuhrman is up again then on Sunday, and he's going to tell you the latest on how to supercharge your immune system, and you really want to buy this book. This book is going to be set for sale only Saturday morning after his talk. That's the only time you're going to be able to get it, right after his talk. It's a fabulous new book that he has. It's going to be very big. After lunch, Dr. Pam Popper. And Dr. Pam is going to cut to the chase and teach you how to understand medical research. And then we're going to go full circle back to John Robbins, the guy who started it all for us. None of us would be here but for him. And then we're going to end the program with a panel of our experts to answer your questions. All weekend long, there's going to be a Vitamix person out there running their Vitamixes left and right, and on every break you can get fruit smoothies, green smoothies, and things like that, all for free that they're providing, which is wonderful. That should be very tasty. Dr. Neal Barnard, he's the man of the hour.